Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, former National Security Minister Jack Warner warned the government against muzzling citizens. In other words, infringing upon our rights to be able to protest anywhere we want in Trinidad and Tobago for any justifiable reason. He stated that Trinidad and Tobago was a democracy and that under the Constitution, citizens were allowed to demonstrate their dissatisfaction with any government, whether it's the UNC, whether it's the PNM, whether some other party takes control or wins the elections in 2030, which is what I'm hoping for. But I definitely not voting UNC again unless they call for a vote of no confidence and remove Kamala from office. This is the end of the UNC. And I'm definitely hoping that a third party will win because we can't go under PNM. PNM is a complete destruction as well. The sad thing is Kamala is proving that the UNC under her control is even a greater evil than the PNM. Don't get me wrong, I'll say this again. When it pertains to developing the country, when it pertains to even reviving the economy, UNC is going to do a good job. But is it worth it? If it is, we are going to become a police state, a dictatorship. You know how the UNC fanatics that will actually comment and say, yes, I don't mind it becoming a dictatorship as long as we prosper. You sound just like the PNM patriots. What you all say and do and think, my goodness, it is totally against democracy. So he believes that the no protest zones in place should not have been there. Mr. Warner noted that the United National Congress government was in office because of protests. Yes, people, my side, the UNC side, this yellow side, protested against the mighty morphin Ghanaian coal pot, no harm, no bicycle. No bicycle, no harm, no macaroni pie, PNM for 9.5 years, but especially within the second term in office. So basically for about four and a half years, almost 5 years, we protested against the PNM and for justifiable reasons as well. And now you want to turn around and tell people, hush up, just like how Rowley used to be telling us to hush up. He added that the people were hurting and something was wrong when they could not protest outside the parliament. Something is definitely wrong, people. Finally, Mr. Warner said he was amazed to see the high number of armed officers deployed at protests against the police-involved killing of Joshua Samuel. It was all about propaganda, people. It's all about trying to paint a picture of, a threat to our democracy and a threat to the government, when in fact was a young woman and her friends and family, well-educated individuals, who were just simply calling out for justice. They never tried to incite any type of violence or anything like that. But the police presence made it look as though it was something serious that was taking place. My response, Queen Kamala has become a dictator just like Rowley, even though she criticized him for oppressing and persecuting the citizens of TNT for 9.5 years. This level of hypocrisy should never be encouraged, but yet that's exactly what UNC supporters are doing. I'm not going to be part of that. Never. Never was a political fanatic, and I never will be. UNC fanatics in 2026. This is what they're basically saying, people. I'm seeing it in the comments online, and I've basically summarized it for you all. UNC supporters are saying we support dictatorship under Queen Kamala because PNMites defended these same draconian measures under Rowley. That is what they keep saying. That is what so many of these activists keep saying. But your PNM people wasn't protesting against crime on the PNM, and they wasn't protesting against this and that and the dictatorship under PNM. So that is your logic, that because PNM supporters, PNM patriots did not protest against Rowley's autocratic types of policies, that is, you are saying that because PNMites did not do it back then, that is okay for you to support it. Now that makes any kind of sense? We stood up. I was a part and a member of the push, well, not a member, but I was a supporter of the pushback movement. I'm headed by the ground report team. I attended about 2 of those pushback movements. It was about 5 in all. I attended about 2. And if I could have afforded to attend more, I would have attended others as well. But I'm basically a poor person, and definitely at that point in time, because of the lockdowns, I wasn't employed or anything like that, so I couldn't afford to be traveling every minute and things like that. And transportation wasn't provided for those protests, right? So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that we protested against unfair types of autocratic types of policies, and yet now that we're in charge, we are defending a woman who is acting like a dictator. How does that make sense? And then your only argument is, but PNM Patriots didn't do it under Rowley. And the sad reality is, the PNM Patriots, even though their precious government was in office, they still went out and protested numerous times against police killings, police brutality, and so forth. They did. And so it begs the question, who really are the bigger extremists here in Trinidad and Tobago? Because yes, PNM Patriots are tribal, but they still went out and protested while their government was in office, while their party was in office. I wanted to say this. This is what happens when a population is controlled by tribalism instead of logic. Both sides, people, both sides, PNM and UNC. But right now I'm seeing that it's even more extreme on the UNC side. Two wrongs don't make a right, my dear people. What's even more concerning is that the new dictator is imposing even more extreme restrictions than the former Emperor Rowley, which is something I never thought would have happened. I never thought that would have happened. Even though the TTPS was used by the PNM to prevent citizens from protesting during Rowley's lockdowns, he never designated anywhere in TNT as restricted zones, people. You understand what's going on here? Kamala is taking communism dictatorship to a new level. Kamala is now pushing us even closer to a full dictatorship than Rowley ever did during his 9.5 years reign of destruction. Will she continue? This is the question. Will she continue to declare new SOEs for the next 4 years? Or will she use the new ZOSO law to declare these same areas as restricted zones? This woman is not the same Kamala whom we voted for and trusted back in Pandey's times or even in 2010. My dear people of Trinidad and Tobago, you all need to wake up. You know like how the ground report used to have a voice note playing almost every time at the starting of their show. Wake up, people, wake up. Well, you all need to wake up again, you know. Because we are heading deeper into a dictatorship under Kamala. And you're clapping and saying amen simply because Rowley is not in office and the PNM is not in office. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Why embrace one dictator when you rejected another? Just because it's your party? I will never understand that. And this is why I've always made it clear to people that I was never a UNC for life. And I don't unconditionally support any political party here in Trinidad and Tobago. I support God, number one. I serve God and God alone. And when it pertains to my country, I serve my country and my fellow citizens. As a private citizen, I'm not a politician, but I stand in solidarity with them, not with any political party. Regional news now. It will cost Barbados more than $2 billion to completely end its reliance on fossil fuels as the island works toward its 2030 green energy goals. Now, it sounds good, but is it really possible? Acting Prime Minister Kerry Simmons shared this major update on Tuesday, emphasizing that moving away from oil is necessary to protect the country's economy from unpredictable global fuel prices. Now, I can understand that aspect of it. When you're talking about going green and all kind of stuff like that, where you're going to use electricity, electric cars, and now, if it is, you could really, with these solar panels and stuff like that, if you could use solar energy, that is really good. But is it something that really practical or could be done in this era? Maybe 30 years from now, but now, by 2030, you're talking about it. Right now, buying foreign oil strains the country's finances, and switching to clean energy will help keep local power prices steady for regular citizens. The government's plan focuses heavily on switching to renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, and modernizing the island's entire transportation system. Now, as I said before, I'm not like my fellow conservatives that have a problem with this. I do have a concern with the wind power, but no, because the argument on the right is about a lot of the times it kills a lot of our wildlife, the birds and so forth. That could be a bit concerning. But other than that, solar energy, I love the idea of using the natural resources that God gave us in order to be able to generate energy. So I love the idea of solar energy. The wind power, as I said before, a bit concerning. I'm kind of two-sided or double-minded about that. I'm not really sure what I should think about that. Sounds like a good idea, but as I said, it could affect our wildlife. The wild upfront price tag is very high. Officials note that the shift will ultimately save Barbados billions of dollars in fuel costs over the long run. Additionally, this massive clean energy project is expected to create a wave of new jobs and open up fresh economic opportunities for local workers. Electric cars, but that's going to cost a lot of money, people. A lot of money. And how you're going to generate the electricity in the first place? What with these windmills and solar power? Is it really practical? But there's a small island and a small population, so who knows? It might be possible.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Visesa, Senior Counsel, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the government, and the people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, I accept with profound honor and gratitude the confidence placed in Trinidad and Tobago by the membership of the United Nations to be elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. We accept this mantle of responsibility with humility and pride. We wish to express our profound gratitude for the friendship, partnership, and solidarity shown to Trinidad and Tobago during our campaign. We congratulate all candidates on a well-executed and impactful campaign and sincerely look forward to working with you on the Security Council. For Trinidad and Tobago, this is not our first time on the Security Council. We had the privilege of serving on the Security Council within the years 1985 to 1986. Since independence, 64 years ago, Trinidad and Tobago has upheld the rule of law, championed human rights, strengthened international law, and never been silent in the face of injustice. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to the UN Charter, international law, and the rule of law. Our campaign, Building Consensus for the Realization of Sustainable Peace and Security, will guide our engagement on the Council as we pledge to foster dialogue and bridge differences amidst the multiplicity of complex challenges confronting the international community. Specifically, during our tenure, we will place particular emphasis on advancing the women and children on the peace and security agenda, addressing the illicit trafficking of small arms and light weapons, and examining the implications of artificial intelligence for international peace and security. The Honorable Prime Minister Prasad Visesa has instructed that we use our tenure on the United Nations Security Council to champion issues, the voices and aspirations of all people, and more importantly, to amplify the unheard voices to ensure that justice and equality anchor lasting security. We recognize the breadth and complexity of the Council's mandate and stand ready to engage constructively and reasonably across a full range of issues before the Council. We are prepared and we are ready to serve the global citizenry. Our pledge to you is that Trinidad and Tobago will be a balanced, principled, reliable, and pragmatic partner in the room. Again, I wish to extend warm congratulations to fellow elected members and look forward to serving alongside all 14 members of the Council in a spirit of partnership and cooperation for a more peaceful, secure, and just world. Thank you.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago. Thursday, June 4, 2026. The weather forecast for Thursday, June 4, 2026 in Trinidad and Tobago indicates mostly cloudy, breezy, and occasionally wet conditions with standard temperatures reaching a high of 30 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius and dropping to a low of 24 degrees Celsius. According to the official data from the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service, the day will feature a mix of occasional showers, slight Saharan haze, and isolated thunderstorms, particularly during the mid to late morning hours. Key weather metrics. Humidity will be very high, ranging between 70% to 95%. The heat index is expected to feel like 33 degrees Celsius during peak daytime hours. Winds will be breezy to windy, coming from the east to southeast at 10 to 45 kilometers per hour, with higher gusts expected near heavier showers. A slight concentration of Saharan haze will persist, so sensitive individuals should consider taking precautions. Marine conditions. For mariners and beachgoers, the seas are forecast to be moderate. Waves will average up to 2.0 meters in open waters and up to 1.5 meters in sheltered areas, though waters can become temporarily choppy during thunderstorm activity. If you need help tracking this for outdoor events or marine travel, let me know so I can give you the exact times for the worst of the rain.
International news now. President Trump says a 2028 joint ticket between his vice president and Secretary of State would be very unbeatable, praising the chemistry between two of the GOP's most prominent figures, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. He said, I watch them together. They get along great. They have a good relationship. I like them together, politically speaking, of course. And I say that is definitely a good ticket as well. But Marco Rubio should be the one that is running for president, not J.D. Vance. As many have stated, including the Messianic Jew Bible teacher Amr Safati, J.D. Vance sounds a bit anti-Zionist, could probably end up being anti-Semitic as well, and therefore we cannot trust him to end up being a president of the United States. The thing about it is, sadly, and Amr Safati is realizing that no, Trump cannot be trusted either. He's doing good in one way and doing a lot of bad, especially in the Middle East. He's doing a lot of good in America. But when it pertains to the Middle East, he's making life even harder for Israel, making it even harder for them to be able to defend themselves against their enemies. From the statement of Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz this morning on the ground implications of the joint declaration with Lebanon. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, will continue at this stage its fire and activities on the ground. The IDF will remain with the security zone in Lebanon up to the yellow line, including in the buffer zone, without the return of the Lebanese population. In other words, do not go back there for your own safety. The prevention of terror infrastructure on the ground will continue. Israel has freedom of action with American backing to strike in Beirut in response to fire on settlements and Israeli territory, after, of course, being verbally abused by Donald Trump. Donald Trump trying to bully Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu into submission. And because Trump thinks he's the king of the world and can tell Israel when they can or cannot defend themselves. Thankfully, thus far, Netanyahu continues to stand up for his rights and the rights of his citizens. An important fact that is often overlooked: Israel has no territorial ambitions in Lebanon and no territorial dispute with the Lebanese people. The only reason peace between the two nations is not a reality today is that an Iranian-backed jihadist terrorist organization, Hezbollah, has held Lebanon hostage and turned large parts of the country into a launching pad for attacks against Israel, making it a terrorist base. Lebanon, like a huge terrorist base. That the day that cancer is removed, everything can change. The Hezbollah terrorist organization, once they are moved, terrorist group is removed, everything will normalize. Israelis will eagerly visit the beautiful mountains, beaches, and cities of Lebanon, and the Lebanese people will be welcome to do the same in Israel. The potential for friendship, tourism, trade, and prosperity between those peoples is enormous. The Jewish people and the Lebanese, it's enormous. The conflict has never been between the people of Israel and the people of Lebanon. The obstacle to peace has always been the terrorist proxy that serves Tehran's interests rather than Lebanon's future.
Bible quote of the day. Hebrews 11:6-9 NIV. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. By faith Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.